Chapter 76. Oh, duh. You're quite smart. AMU's face instantly darkened. Of course, I'm very smart at the critical moment. Old Lu forced out an ugly smile. I really hope your teammates can see your face like this. AMU took out 5 Dao from his bosom and scattered them on the ground like feeding pigeons. Old Lu quickly got down on the ground to pick up the Dao, one by one, and then put them in his pocket. My teammates will understand me. Old Lu patted the dust off his hands. I already warned them that I'm smart at the critical moment. They didn't expect me to defend, and there's nothing I can do about it. Ayun put on a smirk and handed the locked box along with the golden key to Old Lu. Then I'll leave the rest to you. In the recipient room on the other side, Pi Zhao was sitting on a chair with his eyes closed, resting. The prisoner's dilemma, he murmured to himself. No, it should be the bucket law. The weakest member in the team will determine the overall strength of the team. PXIA's fingers tapped lightly on the table as he was timing in his mind. But which board exactly belongs to our bucket? The spies on both sides should have met the sender. He still had his eyes closed, trying to simulate the scene of the two sides meeting in his mind as much as possible. About 10 minutes have passed, and our spy hasn't delivered the letter yet, which means Lin Qin's persuasion failed. A woman in love has no reason to kill her lover with her own hands. As for the other side, Pi Zhao opened his eyes and reached out to play with the silver key on the table. Old Lu has most likely defected. His face gradually turned cold as he said, from now on, the other side will have the help of 2 spies at the same time, and things are developing in the worst direction. The good news is that the bucket law is officially invalidated, and there are no longer any weak links in our team. Kaizha slowly showed a sneer. Next is the MiG-25 effect. Just then, a voice suddenly came from the doorway. When the Soviet Union was building the MiG-25 fighter jet, although all its components were inferior to those of the United States, it could still become a world-class fighter jet by improving its comprehensive performance. This is the MiG-25 effect, right? Pi Zhao turned his head to look. The spy Zhang or Yuozhu was standing outside the door, looking at him expressionlessly. She was holding a box in her hand, and the box was long. Do you think the MiG-25 effect is correct? Zhang or Yuozhu asked. I'm not quite sure, Pi Zhao said with the same expressionless face. I'm not sure if the parts that belong to me now are good enough, but as soon as you showed up, all my doubts disappeared. I made you have an epiphany as soon as I showed up? Then you're really a once-in-a-century genius. Zhang Yuozhu put the box on the table in front of Pi Zhao with a hint of sarcasm. Now, please use your MiG-25 effect to open this box. Pi Zhao carefully examined the box. The golden lock firmly locked it. He tried it with the silver key at hand, but it couldn't be opened at all. He then picked up the box and shook it gently. He heard the rustling sound inside. There was a letter. What should I call you? Pi Zhao asked. Zhang Yuozhu. Did you smash the key just now? Pi Zhao asked. Do you think your teammates would give me the key? Zhang Yuozhu crossed her arms, as if watching a good show. People like you who think they're smart can't open the box without the key. She didn't give you the key. That's great. Pi Zhao raised the corner of his mouth and said to Zhang Yuozhu, did you hear that just now? Hear? Hear what? Footsteps. Kaizha said. The sound insulation in this old hotel isn't good. Before you took action, you should have heard the footsteps. Right? So what? Zhang Yuozhu pursed her lips. The only ones who can move around in this whole building are me and that old man. It's not surprising to hear footsteps. But why did he set out earlier than you? Pi Zhao tapped on the table, looking at Zhang Yuozhu with a meaningful expression. Why did our spy set out immediately? You. Zhang Yuozhu's expression froze as if she had thought of something. How likely do you think you are to survive this game? Pi Zhao kept tapping on the table, trying to break through the other's psychological defense with words. If your team cooperates with our spy, do you still have a chance of winning? I see. Zhang Yuozu's eyes gradually turned cold. You can't open the box. So you're targeting me? Isn't this a bit childish? Tisha nodded and said, did you see through this? Don't even think about deceiving me. Zhang Yuozu took a step back. I will never believe you. Tisha stopped talking and instead looked at his finger that was tapping the table. The time is almost up. His face turned cold as he murmured to himself, let me test whether the parts are good enough. Before Zhang Yuozu could understand what this meant, a noisy shouting suddenly came from another corridor. It sounded like someone was fighting. It was a pity that it was a bit far away, and the specific content couldn't be heard clearly. Good, their superior part. TXIA's finger stopped tapping the table, and instead he slowly stood up and said, Miss Zhang, if you had agreed to cooperate with us just now, the outcome would have been completely different. But now there's no chance. You're just a spare part. That's really interesting. Zhang Yuozu shook her head helplessly. Then I'd like to see how you can get the letter. Kuja didn't even try to unlock the box. Instead, he picked up his silver lock and locked the box again. Now, the box had two locks on it. Have you gone crazy? Zhang Yuozu asked, putting on another lock. Do you think two negatives make a positive? Me crazy? There's a possibility. Tisha picked up the box and handed it to Zhang Yuozu. Please, send it back to the sender, for me. What? Zhang Yuozu was stunned. Send this box with two locks back to the sender. So that's how it is. She was instantly horrified and immediately understood TXIA's plan. You, wait a moment. Tisha didn't wait for her to finish speaking and directly pushed her out of the room and locked the door. Zhang Yuozu stepped into the corridor, and the countdown on the wall lit up. 3 minutes. She was holding the box with a complicated expression on her face. If she had known that the other person was like this, she should have pretended to agree just now. When she came to the corridor, the sound from the other corridor became clearly audible. Zhang Yuozu came to her senses and slowly leaned against the wall to listen. Her expression became sour. You sounded extremely angry as he kept shouting, you old dog actually destroyed the key.